Hey everyone, it's Jack, and today I'm going to take a look at Regata Linux, or Regata OS as they call it. So Regata OS is based on one of my favorite RPM distros, OpenSUSE. Wow! This is version 24, codename Arctic Fox. Regata OS is probably one of my favorites just because it's based on OpenSUSE, which is, like I said, one of my favorite RPM distros, and this is the KDE version. So this is based on the new KDE 6 desktop. So I'm kind of curious to see how KDE 6 is working on a variation of OpenSUSE, which I find interesting because KDE 6, of course, is quite new. So I'm really curious to see how Regata OS handles KDE 6. I think that's going to be kind of cool and really worth a look. So I'm out here at the Regata OS website right now. I'm just going to hit the download button, get the ISO, and then I'm going to load it in and let's check it out. Okay, here I am at the login screen. I decided to just skip over the post install. I'm just going to get right to it here and just log in and see how everything went. Because so far, oh, by the way, here we got our X11 by default for our window manager instead of Wayland. And I think that was probably a good choice by the creators here of Regata, because I think Wayland is probably a lot more troublesome with KDE 6, especially with the widgets right now. So I think that was a wise choice, having X11 there as a default. And I'm going to stay with it. And here's our desktop. And looks nice. Our Regata OS update looks like is already running there. I like the fact they got that updater. I don't think OpenSUSE has an updater like that in the taskbar by default. So that is cool. And so here we got different things like there's some Regata OS game access, which I think is in the taskbar too. And then we got our graphics apps and not a lot installed by default. There's our Regata OS Store and our Firefox. So it's pretty light there, which gives us lots of room to install what we want, which is great. VLC player, only Office, and then under our settings, again, we got minimal and essentials. And then here we got our system items like Dolphin and Konsole and menu editor and so forth, USB image writer, which I believe is the SUSE image writer, and good old Yast, which is great for configuring anything and everything. Nice. And then our utilities here, again, having all our essential KDE utilities here, along with OpenSUSE Studio Image Writer, and Spectacle is one of my favorite KDE screen capture. And then we already got our power buttons there, our restart and shut down and login and all that good stuff. And then here, might as well just click on that and let our updater run. But here's our panel items too. And there's our Regata. So it looks like there's two updates. System updates, which has like 59 items, and then the Regata OS game access. So I might as well just let that run in the background. What the heck? And while that's doing its thing, there's our notification. We'll look at our panel items here in the taskbar area. And so these are our notifications. And of course, one of them is for the updater, so that's cool. And notification settings up there, you can adjust if you want to tweak what gets notifications and what doesn't. Then we have our audio volume settings, line in and so forth, accessible right there. Then we got our network, and of course we got a wired network connection there. And then this little arrow like is our hidden icons, like our brightness and contrast and so forth. KDE Connect and power management. And then if you click on the clock setting, we got our calendar, which looks very beautiful. And then, of course, we can scroll through months and so forth. And we can even set the calendar by years, months, and days. Excellent. And then this, of course, is our show all windows and hide all windows. Or some people know it as show desktop. So when you click it, everything minimizes. Click it again, they all come back. Excellent. And then here's our Regata OS Store. That's nice. And then our Regata OS Game Access. So that must be like maybe an app store for games. I don't know. We'll check that out. And then, of course, Dolphin and Firefox. Let's start out with the Regata OS Store and take a look at that package manager while our OS update is running there in the background. So I'll just minimize that. And then our store should be popping up here. And wow, that looks beautiful. So this is really a nice looking GUI package manager. And you can see our recommended items here, KDE Live up there on top and so forth. And then here, more recommended, or I guess on top you might call that the featured items. But here we got Dropbox and Deezer, Feridium, Thunderbird, VS Code, GIMP, and so forth. Wow. So I'm going to click on GIMP here and let's just install it to see how it works. But very beautiful layout here. So you can see a little screenshot there and a nice description, even reviews. So that's great. And it also specifies that it's free. So if you have some proprietary stuff in there or other things that aren't free, you'll be able to see right up front there. So GIMP is installing and we'll just let it do its thing. And now it's installed. So that's good. Got the little checkbox there. You could hit open, but I'm going to just go down here and just see if it's in the menu. And it is. So there's our GNU image manipulation program, or GIMP. Nice. And then we can click on categories as well, like create. So here we got like OBS Studio, DaVinci Resolve, which is a nice video editor, if you have a powerful enough video card to handle it. Otherwise, it won't run. And then you go down here and you got Krita, which is really a nice graphics app. Inkscape, one of my favorites. Lightworks, which is another nice video editor, except it only renders in 720p, which kind of sucks if you want to use the free version. So for me, that's a non-starter. Then we got Audacity, MuseScore, and then LMMS, which is a complete audio workstation. Wow. So really great stuff here in the featured apps. And then, of course, we got games again, and then develop apps like our Atom, Chrome Web Designer, Code Blocks, MariaDB for database programming, PHP Storm, Sublime, VS Code. Wow. And then here we got utilities, OpenJDK and Bottles, which is a variation of Wine, and so forth. So really nice. And then here's our installed apps in alphabetical order. So this is everything that's been installed here through the Regata OS Store, pre-installed, I guess, with the exception of GIMP. And let's check our updater. So our updater looks like it's almost done. I just clicked on the more details thing there so we can kind of see what's going on. And it's saying everything's concluded except for the Regata OS Store, waiting for install. And that's probably because I had it open and I was stopping it from installing. So now it completed, now that I close the store probably. So that's great. Excellent. So far I'm really liking what I see. Let's check out this Regata OS update. Or I mean this Regata OS game access here. So again, up here we got featured game, The Sims, and it just kind of scrolls through Overwatch 2. So a lot of cool things to look at there. Rocket League. I like the slideshow. That's a very cool effect with featured games. That one's downloadable from Epic Games. Very cool. And then other featured ones down below like Warframe, The Angler, Call of the Wild actually, The Angler. There's World of Warcraft from Battle.net, Diablo, wow. Diablo 3, Overwatch 2, StarCraft Remastered, StarCraft 2, nice. And then under EA apps, we got Anthem, Apex Legends, A Way Out, Battlefield, FIFA 18 and 19, Battlefield 4 and 5. Wow. So, yeah. What's not to like if you're a gamer here? There's The Sims 4, Unravel 2. Cool. And then here's our access to the Epic Games Store, so you can log in or install it, or both, whatever applies. GOG Galaxy, Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, The Witcher 2, Fallout 3, A Plague, Lenoir, Bully, that's me, I'm a bully. And then Grand Theft Auto 5 and Vice City, wow. Red Dead Redemption 2 and 1, Max Payne, Max, you're a pain. And then Ubisoft Connect, cool, Anno 1800, Child of Light, Far Cry, Immortals, The Crew, Tom Clancy's The Division, Ghost Recon. Wow, so yeah, a lot of these are kind of bringing back memories too. Watch Dogs 2, The Division 2, nice. So there you go. And then here's a list of all the games. in here, so you can kind of go that way too. And of course, you can always use the search games as well. And then we got settings here. So here we can make any special settings if you have something specific to your hardware here. And let's see what else. Let's pop in here and maybe go into our settings and just check out our system settings here. And there we go, system settings. So if we pop in here, and let's open up our Dolphin as well, just kind of have that in the background. So if I do any theme changes, we can kind of see our changes better. As you can see, it looks like we got a dark background here, but a light there. So we're kind of using a hybrid. It's probably pulling the dark part of it off of the global theme. So I'm going to hit apply, or maybe off a Plasma theme, maybe. So now that I hit apply, now we got the dark theme going universally all the way across, even in the applications. So that's cool. And then selects them, which is double click, is default. And then more appearance settings, that's the same as if you were going to go down here under this appearance and style. So this is kind of a shortcut, this button. When you click on it, it'll take you right over there. And so here we start right off with our global theme, and we got our Breeze Dark for our global. Let's try the Regata OS Transparent. That looks kind of cool. So I'm going to hit apply, but I'm not going to check desktop. That desktop layout, that'll reset everything, including your icons and everything. So that you'll regret that if you check that, probably. And so now we got our dark background here, but I don't see any transparency at all. Not in the bar either. So, let me try that again. Maybe it just didn't apply. So I'm going to hit that again, because we should have some transparency there in the panel and over here in the launcher. And I'm still not seeing transparency. So I'm thinking that's not really working. I don't know. And I'm really not going to check that desktop layout box, because that'll just kind of hose the whole layout. And that's really hard to fix, even when you know how to tweak the layout. That's something you'll regret. So yeah, it'll like change the look of your panel and everything. So not going to touch that. So let's try the regular Regata and see what that does. And not seeing any change, actually. So both of those are really the same. And I really don't see any different from when it was in the Breeze Dark. So I'm not thinking that this is really making a lot of difference. The Breeze Dark changes the background, though. So it is changing the background of the application style, I guess, somewhat for the background, but not for the rest. So here we got our accent color theme, which is nice. This is your option to match it with the wallpaper, and I really like that. In fact, that's a great shade of blue. I'm going to keep that. That goes great. But your other options, you can also customize your accent color here by choosing any of these round palettes here, or you can use the color picker itself right here and choose from 16.7 billion colors. So literally any color you want, you can accent it with. But I'm going to go with the wallpaper theming. I like that feature. That was something that came out in KDE 5 that I really like. Now here's our application style. So these kind of show you the styles of your different buttons and sliders. Then we got our Plasma style, which kind of shows you the background styles of the windows that you have open. And here we got our Regata OS Transparent. Let's try it here. And I see the bar changing, so that's a good thing. And it's changed over here. So yeah, even though I couldn't get it to work in the global, it set the transparency just fine here in the Plasma style. So the transparency itself does work. So that's good to know. I'm happy with that. So I'm good with that. I like it. And so here we got our window decorations. That's the top part of your window here, where you have your open and close, minimize button, maximize, and so forth. Here we can set a Windows border. So we can put a border around our window, and you can go anywhere from thin to really massive, huge, giant border. But I think I'm going to go with a normal window border. And so now you got a little bit of a border around the window. And if you go with the oxygen theme, wow, you got kind of this glowing border. I think that's even cooler. I'm going to go with that just because it's kind of blingy. or it's different. So that's cool. I'm going to go with that. And then here we got our icons. So we got our Breeze and Breeze Dark. We can also add more by selecting Get New. And you can Get New applies to all these different little theming. Aside from your icons, it also applies to all kinds of other things, themes and cursors and whatever. You'll see a Get More button up there that you can download right off the internet. So I sorted everything by rating because it puts the highest rated stuff first. And just kind of looking through here right now, and White Sur is nice. And there we got Papyrus and Fluent icons. Fluent actually is kind of cool. I think I might go with that. Those are nice looking icons. And let's pick a color. How about purple? That kind of goes with everything, I think. So I'm going to hit install there. And there we are. Nice. So let me just close that window there. And so here's our purple icon, optimized for dark themes, light themes, and then just kind of a hybrid theme for both. So I'm going to go with purple dark because we got a dark theme here. And oh yeah, Dolphin doesn't change until you restart it, but yeah, it looks like it can arrow over it a little bit. But you really got to restart Dolphin for the updates to take effect. And there we go. So nice. We got our different icons, and you can see them changed here in the application launcher too, which is nice. So the style's a little different there, and they didn't change on the desktop itself. Probably got to refresh the desktop, and that'll change those up there. But for now, I guess that's cool. But this is what they would actually look like on the desktop. Once the desktop's refreshed, you'll have a cooler looking trash bin there. And then refresh didn't work, but trust me, if you log back in or did some desktop change, those would change up there. And then we got our cursors. So here we got all kinds of different cursor styles. And again, it's got a Get New button on top. But when you hover over these cursors, you can see a sample of each cursor and the animation. And you can actually drill down and just hover over each item in the cursor theme, and it'll show you the item itself. And if it's animated, then it'll show you the animation as well. So I can just select any of these and kind of get a sample. There's a hand and the arrow and so forth. Arrow for the Breeze Light theme, KDE Classic. So that's cool. If you like cursors and messing with different cursor styles and themes, this is a nice place to go. And I like their preview feature. And then these are system sounds. So these are like the default sounds that you can have on your system. And the choice they have here is, of course, the ocean, which is nice. And if you don't like notification sounds, just uncheck the box there in the upper right corner of this window, and you won't have to hear them. And there's our splash screens. These are the screens that you see when you first log in. When you start your computer. And so this is a splash screen that we saw when we logged in. This is the default theme here, the Regata OS. And then here's the OS transparent, and we can click the play button again and get another preview. And that's what that looks like. So that's nice. Blurred background. None, which is my favorite, personally. And then we got Oxygen. So here's the Oxygen KDE theme. And that actually looks very nice too. But personally, I don't like having a splash screen. I usually change it to none because I just want to get to my desktop. But that's a really nice feature just the same. And then here's our wallpaper settings. So here we got all our different wallpapers that are in here. Really nice. The Discovery kind of reminds me of Windows 11 a little bit. And petals, wow, that's really nice. I like the colors in there. Let me check that out. Yeah, that is cool. I could see myself going with that, actually. That really just matches everything nice. Even the Flint icon theme that I downloaded. And it looks good with the transparent panels. Yeah, this is looking good. I think I might keep that. That's a winner. This optical fiber, that looks like another contender. I might have to apply that and take a look too. Wow. Yeah, that's another one I could definitely live with as well. That's really beautiful. I like the gradient array of colors. Very cool. There's one of my favorite classics, the Autumn wallpaper. That's been around for a long time on the KDE and really like it. I have that in my collection, and that's a wallpaper I've used many times. And then here we got the Scarlet Tree. Wasn't that a famous novel? The Scarlet Tree. No, that was Letter. Never mind. So, yes, that was a beautiful wallpaper, though. It did look good. Yeah, that's a really hard choice. And there's our default, of course, the Regata OS branded paper. But, I think I'm going to go with this one. I really like that petals. That's very cool. And it's springtime anyway, so it kind of gives me that springy feel. And here's our Windows behavior settings, like the ones I usually pay attention to in here is the desktop effects. Here you got your blur effect and different pop-up effects, maximize, morphing, screen edges, all this good stuff. Translucency, wobbly windows, magic lamp, all the goodies. So I like that. And then different settings for your task switcher and all these other things, which I normally never really change. Here you can add more virtual desktops. If you're into having extra workspaces, you can hit add there. Activities, another thing that's available if you like adding activities to your KDE layout, which typically I don't because I'm not really a big KDE user, actually, although I like KDE. It's really not my thing. I just kind of prefer good old Qtile, or XFCE for a floating desktop is still my favorite floating style window manager. So yeah, what can I say? Oh, reliable, I call it. And then here we got our screen locking features, and I usually turn off all the screen locking because for me it's just annoying, and especially after going to sleep or waking from sleep. So I'm going to turn that off too. But there are situations like if you're in a work environment or you have other people around you don't want in your computer, the screen lock's a good thing, but I don't have to worry about all that stuff. So for me, it's just annoying. And then here we can set our recent files in here. We can have them show up or not show up and so forth, and for how long. And then here's user feedback. So if you want to complain about something, there's a way to go. Indulge. And then we got our date and time settings. So here's where you can set your clock and your time zone settings. So if you want to change your time zone to Zimbabwe, then have at it. And here we got Regata OS, or set someone else's to Zimbabwe. That'll mess with them. And so here we got, is showing that we got our KDE Plasma version 6.02 and our framework version, Qt version, which matches as being 6, of course. And then our power settings. So here you can set your power, turn off screen time, and so forth. And then under our user settings, here we can just click on that and select an avatar, and lots of nice selections, very cool things in here. And I like the little animated turtles too. They're kind of cool. There's a kitty. I think I'm going to go with the kitty. I like that. I'm kind of a cat person too. Or is my cat a people person? Anyway, then we got our session settings. So here you can turn on and off different background services if you have something specific you want to mess with. And then our desktop sessions, it's set by default to save your session on last logout. And then here where it says show for your logout screen, that means if you want to log out, if you check that box, then it'll ask you for confirmation first. Personally, I like that it's unchecked because I'd rather just get right to it and log out if I want to log out. And then we got our location path settings there for different items. And so I'm going to right click on our desktop here, and here you can see configure desktop and wallpaper. And so you can change your wallpaper settings right here, but you can also set other items on your desktop beyond just wallpaper. But it's nice to know that you have a shortcut to that anyway. Here you can set your location. Desktop folder is the default, which I never change. Then we got our icon settings, top to bottom, which I like seeing that by default. So it's in columns. But if you like it in rows, like left to right, you can change it there. And I see our icons changed now. So now we got the trash can and the folder icon there, consistent with the theme now that we made a change on the desktop. So that's nice. And then we got our lock and play settings, but it didn't lock. Oh, I know. I forgot to hit apply. Okay, let's try that again. So if we try to drag it, it'll snap back into place. So the lock and place feature is pretty nice if you don't want to move your icons around by accident. Maybe you have them all arranged just so, and you don't want nobody messing with them. So I'm just going to unlock it though, because I like messing with them. Actually, it doesn't matter to me, but some people are pretty anal about that. So there you go, and that was the about there. So just gave you some details about the desktop settings. Really like the transparency and the blur effect there in the background. That's quite gorgeous, actually. I'm going to open up my console, so I just hit Alt space for my KRunner and typed in console, because I want to install an app here. I'm just going to magnify things through the console so you can kind of see the console. It should be zipper since we're OpenSUSE based, so I'm doing sudo zipper install Inkscape. In is short for install, and that worked just fine. So there it is, it found it. And so I'm just going to hit install, just let that install. And personally, installing through the terminal is my favorite way because it's just faster. I really like it. It's more efficient and so forth. And so I see that it's loading in all the dependencies, and there we go. And it's showing Inkscape 1.3.2, it looks like. So I think that's from back in November of 23. And if we go up here under graphics, it should be in there. And there it is. Excellent. Let's see how the theming looks. That's another little test I like to do, is to see how the theme holds up across different applications when you tweak the theming in KDE or really any desktop. And the theming looks absolutely perfecto, so I like it. And again, this should be 1.3.2. Yes, very good. And yeah, the date is 23/11/23/25. So yes, right around Thanksgiving, that was released of 23. So that's a stable version there. Nice, looking good. And that's one thing I like about SUSE is things are stable yet quite up to date. Doesn't get much better than that. And I'm right clicking here because I was going to tweak the panel, but I'm not. It's not letting me tweak it. That's kind of weird. I was going to add a widget there, but I can't seem to tweak the panel. That's kind of strange. I'm not sure why that feature is not there. It's not even showing up. So, a mystery. A bug? Maybe. I'm not sure what's up with that. So, nothing over there. Yeah, I can't access that at all. There should be an edit panel button. I also noticed that when I right click, I don't see show alternatives there for the launcher. I'm just going to go in here and see if maybe my permissions are set to standard for the user. Permissions thing is the only thing I can really think of off the top of my head. So let's go, and it's administrator. So, I don't know. How about if I change it to standard and then change it back to administrator and see what happens? Authenticate. And then change it back. Maybe that'll like update the permissions file. Well, let's try it now. Nothing. How about up here, right click? Oh, wow. Yeah. Even enter edit mode is grayed out there on the desktop. How strange. So it looks like we got some kind of permissions thing going on here. I don't know if that's distro related or KDE related. Your guess is as good as mine. Oh, well. I guess I could just try logging out real quick and seeing if that works. So I'll just close that window. And yeah, let me just do a quick log out, and I'll pause for a second. Maybe. Fooled ya, I didn't pause. So here's our log out screen. There's my kitty up there. So I'm going to log back in and just see if that kind of changes anything there. And then I'll just right click down here and nothing. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm not going to be adding any widgets or editing the panel. So yeah, bummer. All right. So I guess I'll just have to write that part off. And aside from that, I think I really kind of covered everything. So I guess I'm ready for my 2 cents. Regata OS based on OpenSUSE. They couldn't have made a finer choice. I actually don't find too many things that are based on OpenSUSE. That's kind of rare. And so when I come across something that's based on OpenSUSE, that just piques my interest because I like it. And I gotta say, this is an absolutely gorgeous desktop. Of course, we got KDE on here, and KDE is kind of notorious for being gorgeous anyway. So what can you say there? I gotta say, though, these are kind of challenging times for having a KDE distro, actually, if you're a developer, I think, because with the new transition over to KDE 6 and so many widgets that are not compatible with the Qt 6 framework yet, that causes a lot of headaches for people that want stability. Of course, if you want stability, then you're better off in Debian or Ubuntu or something like that. That's going to be a lot slower on the release cycle. That way you're kind of kicked back to KDE 5 instead of 6. But for the more adventurous like me, KDE 6 can be kind of an adventure, but you got to remember that there's going to be some growing pains at some parts of the process here, a bumpy ride, if you will. So that's okay. That kind of goes with the territory. So you got to be prepared for things like widgets not working or having compatibility problems. Or I think one time I tried to install a weather widget on one of my computers when I was messing with KDE 6. And after I installed the weather widget, it was constantly crashing the Plasma desktop. So that kind of sucked. And so I didn't use that anymore. And when I went from Wayland to X11, then that seemed to make it better. Then it only crashed like once in a great while instead of every 6 seconds. So that was definitely an improvement. However, for Regata OS, I got to say Regata is really nice. The bugs here that I found, I really can't blame it on Regata because I don't know if that's related. Now, in some of the other KDE 6 distros I've tried, I didn't have any kind of permissions issues there with getting into the panel. So that may or may not be a Regata thing. That could be something that happened in an update. So I don't know. All I know for sure is this is the latest image, which was 24.0.2, I believe, which was released today, I think, or maybe yesterday, but it was really released recently. So anyway, that permissions thing, I can't really say where that's from, KDE side or just kind of a bug on the Regata side. But either way, the Regata people here really did a wonderful job, I think, overall. Definitely give it a thumbs up. Understanding that KDE is like in a rough teenage year now. So we always gotta take that into account. KDE really is the best for OpenSUSE. I know when I used to download OpenSUSE before I got into the tiling Windows managers, the default desktop for OpenSUSE used to be KDE was my favorite way back in the day because OpenSUSE and KDE were just such a perfect match, and they still are. So it's really a natural fit to have KDE and OpenSUSE together, and for the Regata team to keep in tradition with that, I commend you with a thumbs up and 2 thumbs up. Excellent. I even got my thumbs centered. So there you go. I hope this review was helpful. We kind of went over the basics here real quick just to kind of get a feel for Regata. And I love the fact that Regata is OpenSUSE. I mean, that's 5 stars just by itself, having the OpenSUSE platform there. Again, my favorite RPM-based distro is OpenSUSE. So it's hard to go wrong when you're riding on the backs of a giant like that. And with that, I hope this review was helpful. And if it was, don't forget to leave that thumbs up and hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.